It scared me to death to even think a thought like I need to lose a couple pounds. It scared me. My inner child was absolutely panicking, thinking, here we go. She's going to be all or nothing again. My egoic mind grabbed on and just started throwing, you've got to do this and you've got to do that at me, which made me want to jump off something tall. But so I'm at the very beginning of learning this relationship between myself and my humanity, all three aspects of my humanity. Hey, everybody. Welcome to one of my walks. It's been a long time. Michael and I have been walking together a lot, but right now he's working with our son, Corey, so I'm on my own. I'd like to say I've been walking steadily all summer, but I haven't. But I'm getting back into it. Today's topic is going to be about perspective, about present moment, and about using our physical body to get those things, okay? So I've had a cool perspective or knowing drop into my mind. And it's building on knowings I've had before. And it has to do with the sensations of our body, that our body is part of our humanity. Our body is the vehicle that we gather experience, that we feel sensations, sight, sounds, taste, touch, all of that. It is our data collecting device. And so this morning I have been trying to drop into my body and be present in the present moment. And I could do that when I would, like right now, feeling my jacket on my skin, feeling my feet as the pressure changes from foot to foot as I walk. It kind of brings you back to this present moment. This isn't anything new. We've heard this before. But I don't think I've ever experienced it exactly this way in the I'm collecting data perspective. So when we drop into the moment and we just be, and we feel the air on our face and we feel the clothes on our skin and hear the sounds that are around us, we're gathering data all the time. And that data goes into our experience. It gives us the potential and the ability to make decisions. I like this. I want more of this. I want less of that. That's what life is all about, gathering data and making decisions step by step. I have this experience. I enjoyed it. I want to have more of it. It sucked. I don't want to have any more of that, and making those decisions. So as I was playing around with this kind of whatever in my head, I got thinking about, so dropping into my body. And when I meditate, sometimes I will hear the voice in my head say, see behind your eyes. And that's a bit different than just closing my eyes and it being dark. When I close my eyes and I literally am looking at the back of my eyelid, see behind my eyes, it gives me a focus. It's something that they've used for me, with me right from the beginning. So today, as I was puttering around the house trying to practice, and the goal of this was to practice having the chatter in my head quiet. My goal was to just be present and to not have that monkey mind running. And I could hold it for a few seconds at a time. And quite frankly, that's about it. So drop behind your eyes with your eyes open and look through your eyes. And I can't explain this. It's something you're going to have to try yourself. You're going to have to practice yourself. But I got this sense in my mind. For those of you who are close to my age, you'll remember the Martian guy. There was a cartoon that the little Martian would go inside the great big thing, and it was itty bitty tiny little Martian making this great big Martian go. And that's kind of the sensation that I got. It was like there's this little spark of my isness inside this vehicle called my human body. And that when I drop into that and look through my eyes, I get the sense of, like I've heard and read about people talking about that fifth dimension perspective, how we look at stuff without naming it. We just observe. We don't We don't say green, we don't say tree, leaves, you know, ground. We just look at it as like we've never seen it before. And it really does give quite a remarkable perspective. And it does almost hold space for just a minute. It seems like in this busy world, that seems to be the challenge for all of us, is to find that space of quiet where divinity can speak. Because if things are too hectic and too busy inside your mind, divinity can't elbow its way in and make itself known. It doesn't work that way. Number one, you have to invite it, and you have to quiet things down so that you can hear it. I think probably one of the most common questions that I hear from people who I meet with is, how do you know that it's the voice of source? And they gave me a really beautiful, oh, is it an analogy? I guess, I don't know, whatever it is, where they said, we have the part that is our humanity. We have our thinking brain, which is our ego. We have our emotional self, which is our inner child. And we have our physical body, which is our gatherer of data and the gateway for experience. Without our body, we don't have any experience, which means we have no way to expand. They said, you settle into those three things, and then you take a breath into yourself, and you might say to yourself, Kelly Colleen, what do you need in this moment that would make you happier than you are right now? And so I fall into my mind. And I think, does my physical body need anything? No. Okay. No, that's pretty good. In my emotions, do I feel like I need some support emotionally? Okay. You assess that. Am I feeling bored? Do I need intellectual stimulation? Okay. Well, now think about it. If those three aspects are what make us human, and it is, what is asking the question? What part of us is asking what could I do for you right now that would make you more happy? It's your divinity. That is the voice of your divinity. And I have been on a journey for the last couple of years of learning to clearly understand the voices of my humanity and the voice of my divinity, and learning to integrate the two. And that's the path that I'm on. When I wrote my second book and the angels came through, they talked to me about my chakra system. They taught me about the chakra system, about being an energy being, about energy hygiene. That was a huge step on this journey of understanding that I am all of these aspects. And as we learn to develop and unravel the different aspects of who we are, as we do that work, we get more and more familiar with the different voices. My guides say that one of the great deceptions in our world is that we somehow are supposed to try to overcome being human, rise above, release the ego, the death of the ego. Every time you hear anything, it's always talking about the death of the ego in order for you to be your most high self. My guides don't say that. My guides say that you chose to become human, and that the ego mind is part of living in this 3D world. It's the part that allows me to do this recording right now. Without my ego mind, I wouldn't know to press this button then. I wouldn't know to pick up the phone and then press it on. The ego mind is that linear thinking. The ego mind helps us to plan, helps us to stay on task, also keeps us safe. And what has happened over the development of humankind, where we are in the world right now, is we have gotten to the place where our ego mind has been so barraged with what it perceives as threats that it has gone into hyperspace, hyper working. And so the ego mind is putting thoughts into your head when you don't need those thoughts. And that's why we have such a jumbled up monkey mind all the time, is because the ego mind is putting all of these thoughts. You should do this. How about you better plan on doing that. How about you do this and then you do that? How about you my head does that, I mean, I'm working on this all the time. But what I'm beginning to understand is that I can turn the same way that my guides taught me to turn to my inner child when I felt emotions rear up. I'm now learning to turn to my ego mind when I feel this controlling, fast thoughts that aren't authentic, that aren't being derived from my authentic self. When that starts to go, I now turn to my ego and I say, I love you so much. I love you so much. And I appreciate everything you do for me. If it weren't for you, I would not be where I am. You have helped me so much. But I need you to step back now. I need you to trust in this moment right now. There's nothing that we have to do. And I want you to trust that when there is something that we have to do, I'm going to hear you. You can remind me then. And I'm trying to form this relationship with this part of my humanity. And it goes and trickles over into the whole aspect of the relationship between myself and my body. Our body communicates with us too. All three aspects of our humanity have a way. I am beginning to fully believe that our higher self is able to communicate with us through all three of these aspects. And so the communication from my body, the communication from my body, I think about it like this. I think about the beginning of this journey for me. All those years ago, as things started to happen in my life, I started to feel discontented. Work started to not be making me happy. I started to feel very crowded in my marriage. I started to, feel pushed and thrashed about by my children. I started to be really, really unhappy, but I didn't listen to any of that. And so then I started to get sick. Then my human body started to communicate with me. And I started to get, as I've shared before, I got pneumonia and influenza and all of these kinds of things, which finally led me to doing the Wim Hof breathing, which then helped me to segue into learning how to meditate. And the rest, as they say, is history. And so that was communication. And we know this. We know that dark nights of the soul happen through communication from our body. You get the diagnosis of the cancer or the autoimmune disease, whatever it is. You get these big diagnoses, and that's when you hit the dark night of the soul, and that cracks your heart open, and you begin your journey with your spiritual self. We know that all of these are different aspects, different roads to the same thing, to our evolution of our spiritual self, finding our way to our authentic self, would be another way to say it. And so when I started this journey, the guides talked to me about loving myself. And I didn't have a clue what that meant. And that has been a long journey. And I've got lots and lots of stuff on my YouTube channel about that. That journey about my relationship between me and me. Then they started to cut it down. They started to get specific, and they introduced me to, or they carried on with teachings that my therapist had given me around the inner child. My guides took that teaching and just blew it up, gave me such a broader understanding of what is the inner child, how does it work, how do you create a relationship with that aspect of yourself, what does it look like, how do you live that? And that has been the journey I have been on for the last 2.5 years. In the last few months, they have started to give me this perspective of my humanity. The humanity being those three aspects. We have those three aspects that make up Kelly Colleen. And then what gives her life? The breath of life, my soul, the spark of my divinity, my sovereignty, all kinds of words to describe that part that breathes life into this physical body. And they are now, they've actually even used the terms with me that we're coming at it from the whole instead of the piece, which I understand being a teacher. When the angels brought through what they brought through, it was in pieces. Now they're giving me the perspective of the whole to bring forward and to learn and to put it into practice in my own life. And that's what I have been really trying to do. Trying to understand it. And talks like this help me. They really do, because it helps me to sift through all the different knowings that they've given me and put it into language that all of us can understand. So we are now invited to work on, as often as we're called to, our relationship with our body and our relationship with our ego mind. And I can tell you for myself, it is very much connected, because in our world, our ego mind has been programmed by media, movies, society, to be threatened at the thought of gaining an extra pound, to be threatened at the thought, you're not a good person if you don't fit this stereotype of whatever America says is the perfect body. And it's a threat. So because that's a threat to us, our ego mind is in there going, okay, you got to do something about this. You got to do something about this. You can't eat that. You can't have that. That's bad. This food is bad. That food is bad. Blah, 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 blah. That's our ego mind talking from the perspective of fear around our body, because it is all one. I mean, we're human. So then your human body is screaming out saying, I don't want to work out 3 hours in the gym to the point of exhaustion. I don't want to starve myself to the point of absolute misery. The body is crying out for that. So that's in opposition. But as you all know, in my journey, I stepped away from the whole concept of diet and exercise. I just wouldn't even think about it. So for about 2.5 years, I have not considered what I put in my mouth. And I stood on that pulpit and said, this was my path and this is what I was going to do. And it was, until it wasn't. And now I can feel the next level of understanding, the next level of knowing, because in the same way that my body cried out to me, this is not the way to live. Depriving yourself all the time, always thinking about the next bite of food that goes into your mouth, always thinking about the next workout. That's not the way to live either. I'm not judging anybody else. I'm saying this is my journey. I got a great big doggy up here looking at me. I hope she just goes right on home. I think she's gonna. So now my body is saying to me, I could use a little exercise. I could use a salad once in a while and some green veggies. You love that stuff. How come we're not eating that stuff? And this has been beginning to tug at me. And as the body can do in communication, if you don't listen when it first starts to talk to you, it can go to the next level. So for me, I started to get those nigglings. And then I went for my yearly to the doctor, and my cholesterol is high. And it was high this time last year, and now it was 40 points high last year. It's 80 points high this year. Well, that's not good. I know, I'm a nurse. I know that's not good. And then when I was really twirled up in my head about that and what does that mean and how do I find my way with this? Because of my programming of a life of living one way, such an all or nothing perspective, it scared me to death to even think a thought like I need to lose a couple pounds. It scared me. And it just put me right over the top. My inner child was absolutely panicking, thinking, here we go. She's going to be all or nothing again. My egoic mind grabbed on and just started throwing, you've got to do this and you've got to do that at me, which made me want to jump off something tall. And during this, I tried 2 or 3 times to create a video to share with all of you. And the guides didn't let me do it. Both times they messed with the audio, so I wasn't able to post it, which I think is quite remarkable because now I have the clarity. I think I know the path that I'm on, and I'm imagining hopefully they're going to let me post this video. We'll see, right? But so I'm at the very beginning of learning this relationship between myself and my humanity, all 3 aspects of my humanity. And so my old pattern of behavior, if there was that thought that I was going to try to eat a little bit more healthy, I would be in my head, rolling menus in my head all the time. That's my ego mind. Planning, planning, planning. I'd be watching YouTube videos about the latest diets. I'd be watching YouTube videos about health and all of the biohacking and all that kind of crap. I'd have to stay. That'd have to be my main focus. I don't choose that. I don't choose that. But what I have learned over this journey is I'm a powerful, powerful being. And my intention is incredibly powerful. So I have put my intention to be that I'm going to bless everything that goes into my mouth. I'm asking my angels to help me to remember, but I also make broad, big blessings often to the food that I consume now. I have never done that. I ask my body to talk to me and to tell me what it needs, to help me to be sensitive to it when it speaks. I'm trying to listen. I'm trying to sense. And so because I'm trying to do that, I'm also doing things like just sitting and feeling the air on my face and the clothes on my body. I'm getting sensitive to the communication that I can gather from my body. And it's helping me to come into the present moment. And I'm talking with my egoic self. It's awkward as hell, just like it was when I started talking to my inner child. It's awkward. That's all I can say is it's friggin' awkward. But when I go to the refrigerator or whatever, and my head starts with the, well, if you had this for lunch and this for dinner and maybe this snack, if, I think there's this many calories, this many grams of fat, because I know all that stuff. I've done them all. And I turn to my egoic mind, and again, I just say, I love you. Thank you. You have been so good to me through my life. I honor and respect you, but I've got this. My intention is to make healthy, loving choices. And when it's time for me to make a choice, by all means, chime in. But until then, be quiet. I need you to just be quiet. And it is absolutely, I'm beginning to feel a shift in my psyche. And I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to share this with the world. Part of me says, put this video away, wait till I've got a couple months under my belt and I can talk about results. But that just doesn't feel really like me. I've included everyone in my journey, good, bad, and the ugly. I'm going to have days that I go to hell and I'm going to have days that I do well. But what I know is this is about loving myself. It's always been about loving myself. Loving Kelly Colleen Bowker, loving the human that lives on this planet, loving her unconditionally. That is what this journey on this world is about. So it's pretty likely that I'll just share this. I don't know. Who knows? I'll follow the nudges. I got nudged to record, and so the and it I can say that it came through with joy, and the other two videos felt stilted, and I was trying too hard. So that's a good sign. So thank you all for listening, for being part of my journey. I really encourage you, if you haven't become part of my tribe, go send me an email, kellybowker7@gmail.com. Send me an email and ask to be part of my tribe, and I will add you. And then if I'm going to be having like a weekly thing, you'll get notified. I send out 1 or 2 emails a week, so it's not anything too drastic that causes too much hate and discontent. So if you'd like to, I'd love that. Like and subscribe to my videos. Hi, my name is Kelly Bowker. I am a world-renowned channel and published author, and I would like to invite you to a retreat in California, November 8th through the 11th, where we will be ascending our frequency. We will be bringing in the guides and be spirit-led through this entire 3-day event, and I would love to have you go to my website, presentmomentmagic.net, for more information. Thank you so much. Bye.